Alhamdulillah Rabbil Alameen wassalatu wassalamu ala Sayyidina Muhammad wa alihi wa sahbihi ajma'in. We are continuing reading of Allama Iqbal's Reconstruction of Religious Thought in Islam, and the last time we looked at Kant's transcendental idealism, and today we are going to look at Hegel's objective idealism. And with respect to Kant, we said that Kant tried to reconcile monism and dualism. And he did this through his certain compromises. And maybe he did so in a way in which neither monist nor dualist would be ultimately satisfied. And that's why Hegel, even though he follows Kant, he is ultimately unsatisfied with his solution and try to come up with a better solution. A solution which can account for the dualism and multiplicity of phenomenological experiences, but also solve the problem of the interaction between different types of essences and the knowledge of different types of realities by somehow proving that the ultimate essence of reality is one. And as we will see, that's what Hegel does. But let's start with what Kant did. So what Kant did was that he said that our experience of the world around us is made possible but also made possible but also limited by our subjectivity. And by subjectivity, he doesn't mean your and my subjectivity. Neither the subjectivity which we experience, because that will also require a subjectivity which make possible that experience. So what he's talking about is a priori subjectivity. And what makes our experience of the world possible are the concepts, categories, which are almost the same thing, but in Kant there is a slight difference between concept and categories, and pure intuitions of our subjectivity. So that's what made our experience of the our experience of the external world possible. But it also limits our experience of um, the world around us. Those very conditions of possibility of experience also limit the world, our experience of the world. Because we can't be sure whether our experience exactly describe the reality as it is, because this experience necessarily includes our subjectivity. It is possible, but might not be. It's possible that our subjectivity just reflects the reality, but it's also possible that it doesn't. It adds something to the reality. So that means that the actual reality is never captured by our experience. Actual reality as it is never captured by our experience. So that's the unknown. And as long as we are within our subjectivity, we can't really know this fact, at least at the level of theoretical reason. So with Kant, the meaning of objective experience is experience for us. But it is objective to the extent that the information is coming from outside. It is not created by us. But that information is organized. And even what is coming from outside, even calling it information is just a metaphor, because what is coming is really totally unorganized, uncategorized, raw data. And the categories of our subjectivity, our transcendental subjectivity, and the form of our pure intuition organize that data. So that's the very meaning of objective. So how does Kant resolve the conflict between monism and dualism, with which we started our discussion 2, 3, 4 sessions ago? He does this in this way, monism. So we can't say that our subjective experience and our objective experience give us the essence of reality as it is. We can't say that. Whether that reality we are talking about is on the subject side or on the object side, we can't say what's the nature of reality. Since we can't say what's the nature of reality as it is, unlike Kant, unlike Descartes, we don't create a gulf between mind and matter, for example. But Kant keep the possibility open that whatever the reality is in itself, it might be one reality, it might be more than one reality. So he keeps the option open for both monism and dualism and multiplism at the level of reality as it is, that is beyond our possible experience. But on the other hand, at the level of our objective experience, he takes into consideration our common sense distinction between subject and object and difference between subjective and objective reality, matter and mind. So he does give dualism its due at the objective level, at the level of our objective experience. But he does this through without creating the unbridgeable gulf between matter and mind and subject and object, because what we call subject and object are both situated within the realm of a priori or transcendental subjectivity. So they are already operating within a relationship. So there is no gulf to be bridged. Okay, but as we said last time, the problem is with Kant is that he has created a new gulf that is between what he calls objective reality and the realm of reality in itself, which is unknown. We know that, that's the realm, it exists, but we don't know its nature. It might be just like our objective reality, it might be different from it. So he creates that gulf. And the second thing is, there's something unsatisfying in limiting our knowledge to the limits of our own subjectivity, even if that subjectivity is transcendental subjectivity or subjectivity as the pure limit of the possibility of our knowledge. So in a sense, that whole quest for truth on which philosophy is supposed to be based to know the reality as it is compromised. And these are precisely two dissatisfaction Hegel has with Kant's account. Okay. So Hegel's dissatisfaction with Kant are two. First, he finds it unacceptable to accept Kant's gulf between objective reality and reality itself. And secondly, he refuses to accept that we can stop, in philosophy, we can stop short of the truth, which is the reality as it is itself. Okay. And Hegel tries to overcome these two problems with Kant's philosophy by moving from Kant's transcendental idealism idealism to an objective idealism, which to be just put it very simplistically, but in a way which would be helpful in understanding Hegel's idea, is we can think of Hegel's objective idealism is to say that transcendental idealism of Kant actually doesn't have the limits which Kant attributes to it. That is, transcendental idealism actually is objective idealism with proviso, with provisos which will come in, which I'll which I'll describe in a minute. But basically, he says that transcendental idealism is objective idealism. By saying that transcendental idealism doesn't just describe the objective reality, it also describes the reality as it is, with the proviso that in history, so he introduces this very important concept of history, which Kant doesn't have at the level of his theoretical knowledge. History is basically a journey, in a sense, in which we are going from transcendental idealism to objective idealism, meaning history is revealing to us how objective reality is moving and developing into reality as it is in itself. So, in a sense, it is wrong to say that, or it is wrong to say that Hegel actually resolves two objections to Kant's idealism, which he makes through his own theory, that is about bridging the gulf between objective reality and reality in itself, and not and stopping short of full truth. So, in a sense, this gulf is there in Hegel too. And with Hegel too, we haven't arrived at truth yet. But the difference is, Hegel is saying the historical process is the process where we are bridging this gulf, and we are journeying towards the truth. So, in a sense, he is radicalizing Kant by introducing this concept of history and time into Kant's theoretical system. Okay, now that's enough in terms of general remarks. I'll finish this off with explaining Hegel's objective idealism in positively. Obviously, we can't, at this point, we don't have enough, and we are not reading Hegel anyway. So this is not how he argues for it, but these are his results. So Hegel's idealism uh, um, it's called absolute idealism. You can also call it objective idealism. I've already sort of made remarks on this idealism's relationship with the plot. So I'll just try to explain its core concept now. So the core concept of Hegel's objective idealism is that reality is, and here he means reality as it is in itself, which Kant said we can't know anything about, definitely, is an idea. You can call it a spirit, you can call it mind, in modern philosophy they're almost the same things. So that's the reality as it is. That's the reality. So in this sense, Hegel is a monist. He is not a dualist. And he is not a, obviously by definition, if he is not a dualist, so he is not a trialist and all those things, or multiplicity. So how does he explain the phenomenal multiplicity of the world and dualism of the world, etc., the difference between matter and mind? He does it through the basic idea that this idea or spirit is a mere idea. So he's not talking about a mere idea. So that mere idea is an abstract idea, abstract thoughts. But the idea he's talking about is a concrete idea. That is, an idea, he's talking about the nature of reality, is not separate from reality. The reality as we find ourselves around ourselves is the expression of the idea. The basic idea, which is the nature of reality. So the nature of reality is idea, and that idea is expressing itself, or you can say externalizing itself. So the world around ourselves is the expression of idea, externalization of idea. There's no idea separate from that reality. So in that sense, he does keep the distinction between mere abstract idea, and that's why he called his idea a concrete idea. But this externalization and expression of idea, which is reality, is a historical process. So the expression or externalization of the idea is not complete. So we can see history as the process through which the idea is expressing itself or externalizing itself, developing itself. And that process is the process of history. And once the idea has completely externalized itself, then there won't be any history. And everything would be complete and absolute, and that would be the end of the history. So in a sense, idea is expressing itself, externalizing itself continuously through history, and this process is not complete. Now, this induction of history and development into this process gives Hegel the tools through which he can say that reality is one, and also can explain the variety and multiplicity. So there's a one reality, but it is expressing itself in various dimensions and in various expressions. And funnily enough, he also keeps those two Kantian insights without actually accepting them as the final solution. He keeps the contradiction between objective reality and reality as itself. How? And he keeps the Kantian bridge between truth as we stand for, and truth as the final truth. He keeps those insights because although idea is externalizing itself, this expressing itself, this expression is not complete. So there is, in that sense, reality as we experience is not the final version of reality as itself. So there's in a sense, idea hasn't fully expressed itself. So the reality as we experience it is not a fully reality in itself. So that gulf between objective, Kantian gulf between the objective reality and reality in itself is still there. And similarly, the gulf between truth and the final truth is there, but he doesn't have to accept these two as the final fate of knowledge, because we know that objective reality is going to finally express itself fully, and we are going to have the whole truth. So he keeps those insights without accepting them as the final verdict of the history. So I think that's a good place to stop. So we have enough Hegel now, and the background to go back to Iqbal's text. So we'll do that in the next session.